Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest. Riker, it's been a long week of speculation, reports. It seems everyone has an opinion, everyone has an insider on Kawhi Leonard, and tonight it's all coming to a head. Free agency begins, and we thought it was bad for this week. The reports are going to come. They're going to free fall avalanche to us the next 48 hours to the rest of this week, depending on how long he takes to make a decision, get with those meetings. But Riker, we're going to dive straight into it after all the reports and before free agency officially begins. What is your prediction on Kawhi Leonard's situation with the Toronto Raptors? Where is he going after he becomes an unrestricted free agent?
Well, Ben, I think Kawhi Leonard will be sporting a Toronto Raptors jersey for the next season. I haven't been convinced by the other arguments so far that we've heard. His second choice to me, and the only other choice in his free agency decision, would be reasonably the Los Angeles Clippers. I don't see him teaming up with any other player staying in the Eastern Conference, and then given the option to get the Supermax contract to run it back with a bunch of proven guys that have already won a championship, I don't see him going anywhere besides Toronto.
Riker, there's been a lot of reports to contradict the beliefs that we've held, especially since the end of the playoffs. People saying that he's going to go to LA, team up with LeBron, team up with KD, but I am in full agreement with you. Kawhi Leonard will be supporting a Toronto Raptors uniform based on both of our predictions, and I agree. The Lakers are a team that have come up a lot over recent days, saying how they just cleared up a max slot and Kawhi will want to fill in and be on a super team with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I think that's just a wild rumor. That's something that the media really wants to happen because, yes, that'd be a lot of fun storylines to see all those personalities come to a head, but I don't see Kawhi, from his track record, from his history, I don't see him going and wanting to be a part of a super team in LA, a franchise that's glamorous where he wouldn't be the main guy. Toronto suits his personality a lot better, and maybe you can make an argument for the Clippers, and the one thing that I would say they have going for them is being in LA and being like a Raptors light. They're a similar structure to the Toronto Raptors, just with a lot worse players, so to speak, and Doc Rivers, they have a solid coach, but I'm not worried about the Clippers either because they just seem like a Toronto Raptors light, and I don't think the setting, the city that he wants to be in is going to hold that much bearing, so I'm in complete agreement with you.
Yeah, we're hearing a lot of different players that he wants to play with. Now, yep. For me, the biggest reason that the Lakers doesn't make any sense is because despite his lack of what he's giving to the media, right? He's not very talkative come media time. All of the players on the Toronto Raptors say that he is very vocal. He is the leader of the team. He relishes being the number one guy, the person that can take the final shot. That wouldn't be his position on the Los Angeles Lakers. He might be the best player, but he would still be in competition for who's going to take that last shot with Anthony Davis or who's going to be the number one guy between him and LeBron. So I just don't see it working. The Clippers, he would come in being the number one guy. Kevin Durant, I also don't see him teaming up. That makes no sense. People are just tossing Kevin Durant out wherever they can because he's going to have an unspectacular offseason now given his injury. So wherever he goes really won't have an impact until the following season. So people want to just try to keep him relevant. I think that's the main reason that we'll still hear Kevin Durant talks. But more intriguing players, somebody like Jimmy Butler, who would be a clear second best player, right? If he went over to that team, maybe, right? He hasn't had a spectacular last past seasons, and his best time was at the 76ers. So I'm shocked that he's getting meetings with the Heat and Rockets. I don't think that'll end up happening.
Yeah.
It's really weird, but maybe he'll want to go and be the number one guy in South Beach. I can understand that to an extent, but again, to me, pairing up with him makes more sense, right? Because Kawhi would still be the number one player. But with that being said, Kawhi's not going to go to Miami, right? He's not going to go to Houston. So I don't see that matchup is going to happen either. And then just the other teams that he said that he's going to take a meeting with, a lot more of them seem to be niceties or formalities. Really, at the end of the day, it comes down to home team, right? You can be the guy. You're not getting as much money. Maybe you're going to make a little bit more when less taxes come out, right? Or the ability to stay in a fan base that supports you, that loves you, that's going to give you a max contract, play for 2 more years with the guys that you got, and then maybe they have this talk. Maybe they say, all right, in 2 years, I want to be traded. Put that in as a term of the contract. Best case scenario, we have him for another 2 good years that we can run it back, maybe get another 2 championships. And that's what I see happening.
Yeah, so I'm not 100% sure of the terms of the contract. We've talked about this on previous podcasts. I think best case scenario, we have Kawhi for the next 5 seasons, so he signs a completely max deal. We don't have to worry about the he stay movement or any of that for the next coming off seasons. But if he signs a 2-year deal, and that's probably the most realistic situation, I would be extremely happy with that. And logically, that makes the most sense for Kawhi as well, because he'd be with the Toronto Raptors for 2 more seasons, in total 3, and then he's eligible for, they all have random names, but the biggest super max, because when you're with a team for 3 seasons, you can get that massive pay raise that Steph Curry and Russell Westbrook have, and then he has the opportunity for that in Toronto. And then if things don't go super well the way he's expected, like the first season went, he could, as you mentioned, go to LA, and the Raptors could start their rebuild around, not even a rebuild at that point, with OG Anunoby, Siakam, and Fred VanVleet. So I think that's the most realistic outcome. And you brought up a good point. I think a lot of these meetings, and because even the Knicks have been talked about, that like they're getting a meeting by a lot of these top reporters like Woj and Haynes, and they've even come out and said that's more of a formality for him to just hear them out. It's a big organization. It's probably a team he has respect for in terms of their history and their market. But I really don't see Kawhi going to one of these rosters where he's all about winning. He's not going to be put in a better winning situation in the LA Clippers, New York, Brooklyn, and with the LA Lakers, he won't be the main guy. It's I know it's a big market like LA, and New Balance probably wants him down there with the Lakers, but they've made a huge branding movement, so to speak, in Canada with all the billboards and all the stuff we've been talking about throughout the year. And even though it's a bigger market in terms of NBA basketball, and LA is the glamour franchise, it's LeBron James's team. No matter, LeBron could be 48 years old. He's going to be the talking point. He's going to be the figurehead on any team he's on, whether he's the best player or not. He's going to be the guy that everyone talks about. And I just don't see the Lakers happening, and the Clippers just seem like Toronto Raptors light. He stay, Riker.
Yeah, maybe. I think the Knicks are out of discussion now. There was a lot of hype around the Knicks saying that Kevin Durant, that's his destination of choice, and that Kyrie would team up with him. But for all intents and purposes now, it looks like Kyrie Irving will be picked up by the Brooklyn Nets, and then they're going to figure out some sort of sign and trade agreement to get D'Angelo Russell to his destination of choice, which would then be the Los Angeles Lakers. And I didn't do any research before this podcast,
apparently
so I don't
the
know.
T-Wolves are a team that might get D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, they're in discussion as well, but the Lakers apparently are the forerunner, and if I was D'Angelo Russell, I would go to the Lakers myself, right? This is a team that drafted you. There might be a bit of bad water in terms of getting traded away the first time around, but you're going back to a LeBron James, Anthony Davis team. I don't know how that would affect their then ability to sign another max player on top, but I think that's best case scenario for the Lakers. But the Knicks are irrelevant now, and I don't know what player in their right mind would go to a losing team with a terrible track record owned by James Dolan. That's just that it's crazy. I think the only player that they have any hopes in maybe acquiring would be like a DeMarcus Cousins. I mean, Kemba Walker now seems like he's going to be locked in for the Celtics, so their whole offseason just went to poop. It went to garbage. So yeah, it's really the Lakers, it's really the Los Angeles teams, the Clippers, but it's for the exact reasons that you said, Ben. Toronto, there should be an appetite there for Kawhi Leonard, and I think that he is sort of shown in his non-speaking things, but in sort of the way that he's acted and sticking around, and all of the things that he's done, and the conversations that he's had with teammates, and what we're sort of hearing now, and the other players of the Raptors joining on different podcasts and speaking about what their offseason might look like. I think that he's sort of showing that the Raptors are a legitimate option, and when I hear the 67% odds that he'll stay in Toronto by the experts that do the statistics and maybe the Las Vegas odds, we gotta peep that, but I think that everything being said, all factors considered, I think Toronto Raptors, it just makes the most sense. And I'm not saying that he should sign a 2-year deal. I'm saying that he should also have a 5-year deal. I've come around to your side. But with some sort of trade covenant or some sort of agreement that he could become a restricted free agent earlier, or that he can have an opt-out, or that, that he could be traded earlier than... Just something in the paper so that after 2 years they can reconsider where they're at, but that he's still locked in for the money, and that the Raptors could get back trade pieces, but he could leave earlier. Just something like that
to entice him.
Exactly.
Okay, that's fair. You want to make the most appealing contract possible to Kawhi when you have a superstar like this. You got to appease the superstars in the NBA if you want to be successful in the NBA. That's completely fair. I want Kawhi Leonard to retire Raptor. having a superstar like this, it's wild. And next season as well, I could see him leaving after the 2 years, maybe if things don't go well, but it doesn't make any sense at all, because the Toronto Raptors, especially with Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson out next season, they should be the heavy-handed favorites to win the NBA championship next year, if Kawhi Leonard stays, obviously, because the Bucks are going to lose some players. Their whole starting lineup is going into free agency. It looks like Mirotic is going to overseas to play. The Sixers, we're not sure how they're going to end up, so the Eastern Conference is going to dwindle down. The Celtics are losing Kyrie and Horford. Now they're bringing in Kemba, so I think he'll be a bit of a better fit in Boston than Kyrie was, but I don't think they'll be much better, especially with losing Horford. And the Goliaths out east, the Golden State Warriors, they're down at least for next season, so there's not many threats out there. People are overrating the Lakers, in my opinion, right now. Yes, they have LeBron, yes, they have AD, but they literally have nothing else, so the Toronto Raptors should be able to take out that team. I guess Kuzma's okay, and they'll pick up someone else, but the Toronto Raptors with Kawhi are, in my opinion, heavy-handed favorites to win the chip next year, and I don't see Kawhi leaving that, Riker. We gotta chip up again.
Maybe, yeah, 100%. Now we're discrediting. We're also biasing now the big names, right, that are coming out. But you got to look at teams like the Thunder will have to get better, right? Nobody's high on the Thunder right now, but they have to get better, right? They need to go back and look at what went wrong and adjust something. The Utah Jazz are on the come up. The Denver Nuggets, Ben. Nobody's talking about the Denver Nuggets, but they had a good run. The Portland Trailblazers might be able to make a little bit of noise. I doubt it. I've never been high on the Portland Trailblazers. But the West, if it's not the Warriors or the Lakers, I wouldn't be surprised to see one of these lower market teams come up and actually be good. But in terms of the Eastern Conference, I definitely agree with you. If Kawhi Leonard stays, which we're both hoping that he will, we're both speculating that he probably will, it should be a good possibility that there's another path to NBA championship round 2, which would be crazy.
The Toronto Raptors at least I'm getting ahead of myself in my head right now. We don't know what's going to happen, but it's looking good for the Toronto Raptors if he stays. It's a perfect... Masai Ujiri crafted a perfect situation for Kawhi Leonard, and the fan base, all of Canada, has crafted a perfect situation for Kawhi Leonard. He stay. Officially, our prediction, you guys heard it here first, he stay with the Toronto Raptors, but let us know what you guys think. Comment below where you think Kawhi Leonard will go. You guys are the best for making it this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff. As we mentioned, the news is just going to be avalanching down over the coming weeks, or the coming week especially. So subscribe to the Raptors Digest, tell your friends about the channel, and Riker, we're in for a wild ride.
That's it, Ben. Goosebumps. Cheers.